Words of joy and hope. Second Sunday after Christmas. Gospel according to St. John chapter 1 verses 1 to 18. Commentary of Father Fernando Armelini. A good Sunday to all. As Christmas time draws to a close, we have spent quiet times with our families and friends. We have met with the sisters and brothers of our community. We continue to hear the touching sounds of the carols, all beautiful things, but perhaps we have become a little distracted and have forgotten the essentials. So, today's liturgy proposes a meditation on a very demanding text, the prologue of the Gospel according to John. Perhaps we think that these texts, very dense theologically, are of little relevance to our daily life because we think that our real problems are others. For example, work, family, health, relationships with others. On the other hand, much changes in our concrete life if we welcome the light of Christmas. It changes a lot our way of relating to others, with creation, as this prologue will show us, which invites us to reflect on the meaning of the destiny of the whole universe. The whole universe will change a lot if we welcome the light of Christmas in our relationships with our brothers and sisters. It will also change a lot in our personal life because it is one thing to feel that we are alone without a destination in the immense hustle and bustle of this universe. And another thing is to feel surrounded by love, the love of a father who wants us to be happy in this world and then waits for us in the future in his house. This is the reason why we want to understand well what happens at Christmas, and John tells us in the prologue that we will try to understand and internalize. Let us listen to how it begins. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came to be through him, and without him nothing came to be. We begin immediately with three challenging verses. In the beginning. This expression immediately reminds all of us of the beginning of the book of Genesis, where it says, "In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth had no form. Darkness covered the deep." Tohu bohu, says the Hebrew text. And the evangelist John tells us that before the creation of the universe, in the beginning was the Word. Some translations use some archaic expressions instead of word. They use the word verb, but this is not the case with English that correctly translates logos as word. The Greek text says that in the beginning there was ho logos, and this logos is a well-known term by the Stoic philosophers of John's time. Logos can be translated as wisdom. First, in the beginning was the wisdom of God, with which he created all things. In every creature is present his wisdom. He has a plan, a destiny, and it was beautiful what he had made. Everything had a meaning because it was made with the wisdom, and people will be called to grasp it. Michelangelo's famous painting of creation can help us understand the meaning of these first verses. Upon entering the Sistine Chapel, we are immediately drawn to the fresco of the creation of man by the finger of God. That seems to have unleashed the spark of life in Adam, in the first man. But few pay attention to the Creator's left hand wrapping a beautiful girl in a tender embrace. It is wisdom, which, as the Bible says, I was with the Creator when with understanding He made all things. It is wisdom, in Greek, Sophia, and it is feminine. Already in the Old Testament, this wisdom is personified as a woman. It appears, for example, in the book of Proverbs. It says, when He established the heavens, there was I. When He marked out the vault over the face of the deep, when He made firm the skies above, when He fixed fast the springs of the deep, when He set for the sea its limit, so that the waters should not transgress His command, when He fixed the foundations of the earth, then was I beside Him as an artisan. I was His delight day by day, playing before Him all the while, playing over the whole of His earth, having my delight with human beings. Proverbs chapter 8, verses 27 to 31. There is this wisdom, which already in the Old Testament is presented several times as a beautiful girl who is with God as He creates the universe. Therefore, everything has in itself a reason for being and is made for a purpose. And man is invited to grasp this wisdom. If he does not grasp it, he can feel himself master of creation and decide how to handle it, and he may even think that he can exploit it in a wild way and therefore also devastate it. John says that having put this wisdom into creation, the created speaks to us of God. And man is the only creature that can accept the Creator's design. For some, the world exists, must be studied and used, and that's all. It is true. There is no need for God to understand the laws that regulate the universe. But if we renounce to search for the meaning and destiny of creation, if we renounce to grasp the wisdom with which it was made, we are not human. It can be exemplified by the difference we notice between a carpenter and a contemplative coming into a forest. A carpenter sees immediately the tables and cabinets that he can get out of there. He is not interested in anything else. He does not ask himself any more questions, while the poet, on the other hand, the contemplative, stops filled with wonder, and if he is a believer, he grasps the wisdom that has made all these things. Why there are trees, what sense they have, the water, the light, the air. The ancients didn't have our knowledge of the universe, but perhaps they were more human than we are because they were contemplating the sky and knew how to listen to the song of the stars. They saw the stars of the firmament dancing in praise to the Creator. Paul, in his letter to the Romans, right at the very beginning, says that the invisible perfections of God can be contemplated with the intellect in the works that God has done. Also, let us try to imagine what the universe would be without man. The stars in the firmament that follow its evolutions, and then on those planets where life is possible, where life appeared, all would be silence. No voice would be heard to grasp the meaning of this universe and praise the one who made it. Without man, creation will have no meaning. What was the wise design of God? Now the evangelist tells us it was life. Let us listen.
Sentiamo.
What came to be through him was life. And this life was the light of the human race. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. In all creatures is the wisdom of God wherewith they were made, and this wisdom reveals to us the Creator's design. What was the ultimate purpose of all this creation? The prologue answers by saying that it was life. We have only one term for life. The Greeks had two. One is bios, biological life that unites plants, animals, and our biological life. The other term is zoe, to which is often added in the New Testament aionios, eternal. It would be better to say the life of the eternal. The ultimate purpose of all the creation of the universe was that God wanted to communicate the life of the essence eternal, his own life, to one of his creatures, man. And this life was the light of humans. The Jews said that the light of humankind was the light of the Torah. Light unto my feet is thy word. It is true. But John says that the ultimate light that illuminates and gives meaning to the universe was the life of the eternal given to humankind. When this light of the eternal comes to us, everything acquires a new meaning. The sky, the earth, the fields, the mountains, the animals, everything becomes one reason to sing to the Creator God, to express amazement, gratitude, joy, because He wanted to give us His own life. The light shone in the darkness, and the darkness did not comprehend it, says the Word of God. Light does not fight against darkness. It is enough to shine, and the darkness dissolves. If at night we open the window of a lighted room, it is not the darkness that enters, but the light that overcomes darkness. The world was enveloped in darkness of the meaninglessness of the universe, and light has illuminated it. It is the life of the eternal that has given meaning to everything. Here, the gospel writer already begins to introduce the one who came to bring this light into the world, the Word of God. The Son of God who took human form in the womb of Mary precisely to bring this light into the world, which is the life of the eternal. Without this light, the whole universe would be meaningless. And now the prologue is interrupted to introduce the figure of John the Baptist. Let us listen. A man named John was sent from God. He came for testimony, to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to testify to the light. The three synoptic gospels present John the Baptist as the forerunner, the one who was to prepare the people of Israel to receive the Messiah. The evangelist John presents him with a different mission. He says that he was sent by God to bear witness to the light. We know very well who witnesses are. They are not someone who teaches something, a repetition of notions that one has already learned. No, this is about communicating an experience that one has had. And the Baptist has had the experience of the light, has seen it, and can testify to it. The goal is that all come to believe through this testimony. This is exactly what happens in religious education. The education to the faith that must be carried out by the parents, by the catechists. There it is not a question of giving notions, but of communicating an experience of life. Otherwise, one is not credible. In education, one cannot pretend, one cannot deceive. When one teaches notions, one can also say, you must not get high on drugs, but the one who says it gets high. Teaches the right things, but his life does not give testimony of what he is saying. Here is the importance, therefore, of parents and catechists who have seen the light, have known Christ and his gospel, and can testify that this light gives meaning to their life. Then they can become credible. The evangelist goes on to say that he was not the light. At the time when John's gospel was written, there were some of the disciples of the Baptist who believed that he was the light, the Messiah. For this reason, John says that he was not the light, but he was sent to bear witness to the light. This is also an important message for our life. We do not present ourselves as the light of the world. The light is Christ. We are the reflected light of Christ. After this insertion about the Baptist, the prologue again takes up the true light's theme. Let us listen. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to be through him. But the world did not know him. He came to his own, but his own people did not accept him. But to those who did accept him, he gave power to become children of God. To those who believe in his name, who were born not by natural generation, nor by human choice, nor by a man's decision, but of God. The Baptist was not the true light. The true light is the wisdom of God which came into the world to enlighten every mortal. And what does this light show us? First of all, the true face of God. After all the lies that people have told about God, that he made wars, that he loved some people and hated other peoples, who rewarded those who obeyed his commands, and punished with pestilence and calamity those who transgressed his commands. This light from heaven, this wisdom, has come to show us the true God, who is love, only love, who loves all unconditionally, even those who have done wrong in life, surrounded them with his love. Atheism does not exist. The Bible speaks of polytheism, of idolatry, and even today, atheism does not exist because each one has his own God. Even if he does not call it that, but it is the point of reference that gives meaning to his life, that decides all his choices. The true light that came into the world, the wisdom of God, shows us the one and only God who sets us free and gives us true meaning to our lives. Then this wisdom comes to illuminate the face of man. It shows us the true man, the one who loves. The one who does not love is not a man. The one who does not think of his brother, he who does not give his life to the needy, is not yet a full person. We are made precisely for this wisdom. If we do not welcome this light, we will always be restless, unsatisfied, and this light has not been known. Here, the verb to know has the Semitic meaning as it happens in the Bible. It does not mean to know something, to have heard, to have understood. It means to have given one's adhesion, to join one's own life, as does the husband to his wife. In the Semitic sense, not to know implies an attitude of closure, of rejection of this light. And if man rejects this light about God and man, he destroys himself. He came to what was his own, but his own people did not accept him. Who are these his own? They were thought to be the Israelites? No. All people belong to this light, and that means this love. This choice to unite one's life to this light is a free choice. No seduction can extort love, and not even God can extort this love. Adherence must be given in total freedom. Some can reject this light, and some accept it. What happens to these? John's prologue says that they receive the power to bear the name of children of God. They may be called and call themselves sons and daughters of God. The first letter of John tells a wonderful and consoling truth for all of us. It invites us to reflect on what great love the Father has given us, to the point of being able to call us His children. And we are truly beloved, says John. Already from now on, we are children of God, but what we shall be has not yet been revealed. But we know that when our condition as sons and daughters of God will be revealed to us, we shall be like Him, for we shall see Him as He is. We already have divine sonship because He has brought to us this wisdom from heaven. It is therefore not a matter of adhering to a doctrine, but of accepting this wisdom, which is a person, which is Christ. This divine sonship, says the prologue, is not to be confused with the birth to biological life. And there is a triple denial, very energetic, which is made because John wants to recall the gratuity of this gift that God has given to humanity to give us His own life, the life of the eternal. When we finish our gestation in this world, when the biological life ends, this life is manifested in all its fullness. It says that they were born not by natural generation, nor by human choice, nor by a man's decision, but of God, of a divine germ. Therefore, all human mediation in the birth of this life is excluded. Sexuality, desire, the natural drive, the will of man, all these are excluded. It is an unconditional gift, utterly free, that God has given to this creature, that is, the man. And now we have come to the central message of the whole passage. Let us listen. And the Word became flesh and made His dwelling among us. And we saw His glory, the glory as of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. We have heard the account of the central event of all human history, The wisdom of God became flesh. In the womb of Mary, wisdom took human form. We would have expected the evangelist to use the term Sophia, wisdom. Instead, he uses the word logos, which was well known in the Hellenistic world. It has the advantage of being masculine, and it means that this wisdom has taken a human form in Jesus of Nazareth. If we want to see the true light of the face of God, we must look to him. If we want to see the successful man, the true man, the beautiful man is what he has realized. We do not believe in another God, but in the face of God that we see shining in Jesus of Nazareth. And we do not believe in another successful man, but in the one who resembles the beautiful face which is that of Jesus of Nazareth, the man who loves to the point of total self-giving, giving his life even for his enemies. The Logos, the wisdom, became flesh. When in the Semitic world it is said flesh, it does not mean the muscles. He did not put on muscles. He became man, accepting, however, an aspect of weakness, of fragility, which is part of the human condition. It means that he assumed our ignorance and had to study and share all what makes us fragile, like the difficulties of health, of forgetting, of sleeping. Everything that is part of our human condition was taken over by this wisdom. Because to speak to us, he became one of us to reveal to us this light. It is true that for many, this is not credible that a God becomes one of us. But he is the only credible God, because if God is love, he revealed in Jesus of Nazareth the maximum of love. He became a child in need of caresses, of milk, otherwise he cries. This is our God. Take him or leave him. But he is the only credible one because he manifested the maximum of love beyond the love revealed later on Calvary when he gives his life for those who hate him. Farther one cannot go. The only credible God is the one who arrives at this infinite love, a love that becomes one of us, just to tell us how much he loves us, and made his dwelling or tent among us. This is an image that comes from the Old Testament. The tent is the dwelling place of the nomads. During the Exodus, God accompanied his people in his tent that he made. We remember that when the people rejected him, preferring the golden calf, God said to Moses, "Take my tent out of the camp." But he continued to accompany the people. When Moses wanted to consult God, he would leave the camp and go to his tent, but God continued to accompany his people. Then Solomon built the temple instead of the tent, always to indicate this presence of God who wants to be with his people. Now there is no temple that we need to meet with God because God has pitched his tent in the person of Jesus of Nazareth. And he is the temple where God makes himself present. The prologue goes on to say, "And we saw his glory." When we speak of the glory of God, it is not our vain glory, as when we want to climb to the top, showing ourselves greater than others, dominating. This is not glory, it is vain glory. God's glory is when he can show who he is, that God is love. He manifests his glory when he reveals his love, when he can show how much he can love us. The first letter of John begins by saying, that which was from the beginning, that which we have heard, that which we have seen with our eyes, that which we have looked upon, and our hands have touched, is that which we proclaim to you. The word of life present in Jesus of Nazareth, the Zoe, the life of the Eternal One. And we proclaim this life so that our joy may be complete. When we understand how much God has loved us, even to the point of becoming one of us, He told us that He had come to bring us the life of the eternal. More than this, we cannot desire. When we understand this, our hearts cannot be but filled with joy. And this wisdom of God made flesh has presented Himself full of grace and truth. It is an expression found in the Bible. Hesed were met in Hebrew, which means Haristos and Aletheia in Greek, means the fullness of love and a favor that never betrays you, that is always unconditionally faithful. A love that does not depend on your response. If you respond with love, you are happy, and He will always show an infinite and faithful love. This is what has been revealed to us of the wisdom of God who took human form in the womb of Mary. And now let us hear how this prologue concludes. John testified to him and cried out, saying, "This was he of whom I said, 'The one who is coming after me ranks ahead of me, because he existed before me.' From his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace. Because while the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. The only Son, God who is at the Father's side, has revealed Him." After another reminder to the testimony of the Baptist, the prologue goes on to say that of the fullness of Him we have received grace in place of grace. His fullness is that of Jesus of Nazareth. And what fullness is this? The maximum of love, greater than He showed, is impossible. He came into this world, He became one of us, to meet us, embrace us, let Himself be embraced, and then give us His life, even for His enemies. Greater love is impossible. This is the fullness of the revelation of the face of God, which is love and love alone. And from this fullness, we have received grace in place of grace. These are two graces, two great gifts that God has given us. The first, the Torah, the law, the word of God given through Moses, which indicated the way of life. If you want to be a man, do not commit adultery, cheat, steal, and do not kill. It is an external law. Wonderful. A great gift that God gave to His people. But through Jesus has come to us from its fullness, grace in place of this grace. The new law, which is the Spirit, which is the divine life that He brought to this world. It is no longer just the biological life that we have now. Now we have been given the life of the eternal by this fullness of love. And this is a new law which replaces the old one. He who has received this new life has a new identity and is a son or daughter of God. This new identity is for him the new law. If before he was not allowed to kill, now Not only he is not allowed to kill, but his identity as son and daughter of God leads him to the ultimate love, to give his life even for the enemy. The first grace served to prepare the second, the divine life that was brought into the world by the fullness of love, which was manifested to us in Jesus of Nazareth. No one has ever seen God. Man's desire has always been to see the face of God. This desire continually returns in the Old Testament. Man's desire to see the face of God. Moses, Elijah, they went up the mountain to see the glory of God. No. The first letter of John tells us that no one has seen God. It is beautiful that at the transfiguration, the apostles, the three privileged ones, saw the metamorphosis of Jesus' face on the mountain. And with them, there also Moses and Elijah, because they too can see the face of God only in the face of Jesus of Nazareth. The only begotten Son of God, says the prologue, the one who beholds the face of the Father, has told us the identity of God. He has told us with his person, with his words, with his whole life. He has shown us the face of the Father. If we want to see the face of God, we must contemplate him in the face of Jesus. And the gospel presents this face to us. I wish you all a good Sunday and a good week.